highway come out of Warrensburg on Holden Street to the intersection of, just past the intersection of 13 and Holden today, after you cross that first culvert. Then it made a little jog to the east and then went straight north along the northbound lane of 13. When it got to the top of the hill, or just past the top of the hill.
Northbound lane of 13?
Yeah, today.
Okay.
And then when you got on the north side of the quarry hole there, just east of the quarry hole was quarry school. You went around the quarry school on the east and north side and went west past the quarry hole. After you passed the quarry hole, you went north. You went north to where the Tice boys died at, the big two-story house there today, and you turned and went west about a half a quarter to where the stucco house was in the quarry hole at Tice's. Then you went north and you crossed the bridge on Blackwater, and when the bridge was built for Blackwater and Post Oak together, and then is on the west side of Old 13, and it went out across the bottom and crossed the creek west of Old 13 on the new channel, and the bridge over it, you had to get up about 8 foot to get on it. Approach was on each side. Well, that bridge was later, after the Old 13 we know was built, they took it down and put it down south of Lloyd's house, bottom of Monkey Mountain. But I never knew till a few years ago where the bridge went, but they took it down while I was a boy.
And that's the one that burnt over there a few years back? Is that the one that burned over at Monkey Mountain here a few years back before they put the current bridge in?
Yeah, they burnt the floor out of it.
But that was the bridge that was over?
The bridge is up there on Old 13.
Huh.
Them days when they put the bridge up, they put the channel in, new channel, Blackwater in I think 16, 17, 18. And they bought a bridge there at 13. They bought a bridge down in Hoblet Bottom. They bought a bridge at Bill's, where he lives, just east of his house. And they bought another bridge down at Valley City, and another bridge down at Mulberry Park. Now the county bought them bridges with the tax they had on the dredging of the new creek. When they dredged the new creek, they went out through the fields, they didn't go through timbers and cultivatable ground, and they had I don't know what it was. They started at the top of the creek and they floated it on water as they went along and digging, and threw the dirt over on the bank with a shovel at them days. It was run by steam, and when it got to Dunksburg, just west of Dunksburg,
where's Dunksburg at?
That's in the northeast part of Johnson County, right in the very northeast corner. Dunksburg, the east line, is a half a mile it's about a quarter of a mile from the Pettis County line. But then the north line of Dunksburg is 3 miles from the Lafayette County line.
I don't want to interrupt, but I just want to make sure, because a lot of these places I'm not familiar with. There was
that's where it is.
There was also a Mulberry something you said.
Mulberry Park.
Where is that at? Or was that at?
That is on Blackwater, up a creek from the bridge on 23 today. I think it's about a mile up to it. Now, when I was a boy, we went down through there to my aunt's at Dunksburg. Dad did, and just on the north side of the Mulberry Park Bridge, there was an old man that built fence. Nice fence, 32-inch wire and 3 barbed wires on top, and a white Hereford breeder, and that was in, I don't know, I was 5 or 6 years old. When Edith and I got married, I went down through there, and about 6 inches of post sticking out. Now the Mulberry Park Bridge, when we crossed 13, it is about 8 or 10 feet high to get on it. Well, before they closed the bridge, you had to go down about that much to get onto the bridge. Now that's what the sediment was in Blackwater Bottom.
Huh.
So anyway, we're back to the bridge on Old 13 where they took it down. You go north, wind it up around through there, and you can follow it yet today. It's there, you can see where it is, and it comes out up there at, well, I don't know what's there, right there on the west side of the barn. It comes out to Old 13, our 13. Well, then it followed Old 13 clear to, well, it come on up, but south of V, on the east side, it went on the west side of the Old 13, which is 13 today. It went on the west side of it. Well, then it followed it all the way then to just south of John Angel's there. It got on the east side of Old 13, and the road's still there. Now you can see where it was. When I farmed it, that ground, I kind of cut the road bank off the fence line and plowed that all up in that field there, just across the road from Angel. Now, I was the first man to ever stick a plow in that 40 acres there. That was years ago. And then it come on north, following Old 13, back on where 13 is today. When it got to the corner north of Jim McConaughey's, it turned and went east.
So that's 700 Road or just about the
700 road. It followed 700 Road till it made a jog south. When it makes a jog south, it went north. And I don't know what that is now. That's I don't know,
the one that comes back up to E.
Many farms.
That's like 101 Road or something.
Well, it could be 101.
Or 91, somewhere in there.
Well, it come north to where the schoolhouse is.
Schoolhouse.
Foster Schoolhouse.
Where's that at now?
That's you're coming north on, across E Highway, and then the road turns east. Well, on the north side there, it's a dwelling there now, log house.
Oh, okay.
And that is Foster School. Then it turned east, went east a quarter. When it got to the corner where Collis lived, it went north and followed the north, come on past here, and it followed the county, the road that's yet today, followed it plumb on through by Oak Grove Church, on over and across Davis Creek, where there's a bridge yet today, new bridge of course, and then it went north of the new bridge to, well, it just follows the road that is there today, plumb past June Shoals, right on into Higginsville, right through Higginsville to the Confederate home. When it got to Confederate home, it went west, made a jog west then a quarter mile, a half mile north, then it went west to right south of Lexington, then it went into Lexington. Now, that's the road that old 13 was when I was a boy. So when they built new 13, reworked the 13, they come out of Warrensburg and got west there at Holden Street and come through there with the quarry hole and down and crossed Post Oak. Post Oak, they changed the creek to then, and the creek was going on the new channel, and you had a bridge there. It was just east of the old bridge, and then you crossed Blackwater, and the bridge is still there, but they shut that up, and 13 was the second 13, come out up where the county barn is. Then it went north. Well, then it come on north to McConnell, it's 700 road. That is new road, clear to Locust Grove store.
In Locust Grove store, is that where the curves are?
No, that's
Where's that?
That's in Lafayette County. That's all new road through there. I mean, plumb past there. Well, it even goes past there it goes to Borland Road. That's all new highway from 700 road to Borland Road in Lafayette County.
Where was the store at that you're talking about?
Well, that's the one up here where the
The
new
yard,
highway is.
where the yard ornaments and stuff were up
Where
here?
there used to be statuary.
Well, that's the curves I was talking about.
Huh?
It's just north of that curve.
Yeah, yeah. But that is all new road from up to there. I mean, past there, on down to Borland Road. And you see the road you traveled them days was all west of that or east of it, 13. Now, when they laid off 13, we had Bill Parker living up here west of Benny's. We had Bill Greer living east of Oak Grove Church. They thought the road was going to leave 700 road and angle across the country to the road where Jess Collis' house is. And it's going to go by Dad and Granddad's house on into Higginsville the way the old 13 was. But Bill Parker's brother was a doctor, Dr. Harry Parker. He had more political pull. He didn't tell nobody. He met with the officials down at Jeff City, and he had it routed through his farm. And that's why the new road, he was instrumental in the new road from 700 Road plumb to Borland Road in Lafayette County. So there's all new road through there. And but he had more political power than they did.
Where exactly did this piece that cuts right across the foot of this hill here?
Yeah.
Where did it cross 70 at, or was 70 even there?
Right today, where the overpass is on 70 today, on this road going north. You go to June's gravel road. When you go over the overpass in 13 on I-70, that's where it crossed it at.
Just directly south of her, then.
Huh?
It'd be like on the back side of where the truck stops at, or right where?
No, east is Duck Top.
Okay.
It went across there when they was a Phillips when they built 40 highway. They crossed through there. That's all new road 40 was. And when they crossed 13, even though it was a dirt road at that time, they started a filling station there. And that filling station operated till up in the 50s before it ever closed down. Well, in fact, it didn't close down until they built I-70. And Les Ivy was a mechanic at that station. He has a shop there where he worked on cars.
And where exactly did that gas station sit?
Well, it's set, I'd say, in eastbound lane of I-70 at that intersection.
That close to where the hotel is over there now?
No, this is east of the junction. We're on Old 13. I mean Old 13. The first one I knew of. That's down the, it's about actually a mile below the junction up there today.
The junction was a mile lower than where 70's at? A mile south of there?
There wasn't no junction to it. Well, it was a junction, yeah. But when, shortly after 40 was built, then they moved 13 to 13 today. That was the second 13 I knew of. When they moved it, then that's when they started, they had gas stations on the south side. Well, then later, they built a restaurant on the north side. And then a little later, they put another station on the north side.
Before
they put I-70 in.
I was talking about that where April's Oak Barn is. I was thinking that's not about where that first gas station was?
No, it is over east.
How far east from there?
A mile.
So 13 was a mile east of where it is?
A mile east when they built 24. There was a gas station over there, a mile east. And 13 wasn't built till 26, I think it was, up there. North end of this. But you see, it's already past time. Well, then, as soon as they got 13 built, well, then that's when they started developing the intersection there of 13 and I-40.
And you said that they were working on this like 26 and 27 and maybe paved it and...
They started on 13 today, which was started at Warrensburg and built it. And they started at where I go on the highway up here at 950 and went to 40 highway. Now 40 north end of I-70 was built a couple of years ahead of 13 this way. And they started there in 27 in the spring, and they worked all year. And then the contractor wintered his mules up here at 1050 on the west side of the road. About 40 head of mules in there, wintered them there all winter, and hauled feed from Warrensburg out there to them. When it broke the next spring, they went on and finished it on 40 and come back and started and went to Warrensburg. When they got in at Warrensburg in the fall of 28, and then in November of 28, we had a terrible rain. It rained for 3 days and 3 nights, just poured. And the Blackwater got high as it's ever known to get high. And it went over the north part of 13 north of Blackwater. And it took half the fill out. And in 29, they had to rebuild the field. And then in 29, they came out here and started 950 and went to 40 Highway, pouring concrete. When they got that done, they come back here and started and went to Warrensburg. And they got it done sometime in the fall. I don't remember what day they got done. And it wound around through Warrensburg. Then I think a year or two later, they went south of Warrensburg.
So what did they have for road south of Warrensburg before then? Just gravel road?
No, it wasn't even gravel. What it was a dirt road, and they poured oil on it. It was an oil road. When it rained, it just got slicker than a gut. And I can remember some of my kin folks through my mother's side riding a horse and fell and broke his leg, riding that horse on that dang oil road. It was pretty near impossible to drive horses and mules down that oil road.
What was the reasoning for the oil?
Well, I didn't know any better, I guess. Or
Keep
cheaper, I don't know what
Was
it
it to
was.
keep the dust down or keep it from?
Well, I guess, I don't know what, I don't know. It made it where you could drive it even if it rained. It was kind of, all-weather road for automobiles. And, but then they paved the damn thing, but I didn't ever travel the road south of Warrensburg, so I don't know how it really went according to the old 13.
You said whenever the road was just down here at the foot of the hill, they had was it telephone poles or on the power?
And what?
On some kind of post or poles, you were saying that they
Well, you
had.
had telephone poles all along old 13, as I knew it. And they put an orange stripe around it and put 13 on it. And that marked it plumb to Lexington. Some of them was pine posts, some of them was cedar poles, some of them was hedge posts. So that's what they put on there.
Well, how'd they mark the roads like 40 and 70? Did they use actual signs for it, or?
Well, I don't know what 40 had on it. It was, when it was built, it was number 4.
40 was?
4.
But 40 was called 4?
Before they changed it to 40. When they first started, it was Missouri 4. They worked for several years on old 40 before they crossed the state. But the time it got done, they changed, put an O on it. I don't know how come.
Okay, so before 40 highway went in up there, it was just dirt road also?
Well, it was just dirt road. From our plumb to St. Louis, you watered around down through the country to get to St. Louis. They didn't have no hard service, no nothing.
And so 40 went in just a couple of years before 13 up here.
It was about 4 years before 13 was built. It was built in 24 up here. Started on the east end and come west.
Oh, what was, I guess, when did 50 highway, when was it built and what was there before it was?
Well, 50 highway, when I was a boy, it had its hard surface. They throwed everything on it. They had shale out of the coal mines there at Montserrat on it, and maybe some rock, I don't remember, but I know it was hard surface, not Noster. And they built it somewhere in the 30s. I mean 20s it was. 20s when it was built. And it wasn't long till they paved it. But it was paved before 13 was.
And you you were talking about from Knob-Noster to Warrensburg. Was Warrensburg to Kansas City already done in some fashion, or
Was it what?
was it already hard surface also?
Well,
or was
I don't
this,
know when-
or did 50 just through there?
I don't know what I had. I never traveled 50, except Warrensburg to Knob-Noster, far as I ever got, and Sedalia. But I don't know what it was from there on to Kansas City. I never traveled it. I never traveled it to those concrete.
But when they paved 50, it's the same highway that the hard surface that was there before. They just paved over it, or did they move it?
No, part of it was paved over and part of it was moved. What it was.
Well, one of the stories that I was wanting you to tell me about, and you brought it up yesterday when we got done, was I think it was Hill Hunter or somebody in their confrontation with the Jones and Sons.
Well, Hill Hunter was a big, rough man. He could pick up a barrel of salt and set it in a high wheel wagon. That's 500 and some pounds. And my grandfather, Allen, whatever Hill Hunter done was all. I never learned till later years that he married a cousin of my grandmother Allen. He was just all bone and bone. He lived about a half a mile north of the entrance to the airport down at Knob-Noster. What do we call it?
Air base?
The air base down there. When they built it, the gate to the air base was just a half mile south of Hill Hunter's house. And you see, they come out, and when they first built the base, all of it come through Knob-Noster out to the base there. Well, they hard serviced that, but Hill Hunter run a labor stable in Knob-Noster, just the south edge of town. And he also had a big road grader, and he contracted grading roads. So he got a contract to grade the road. I never knew what the number was. I don't know whether it was even the marking of it, but it was a good road. And he graded it from Knob-Noster to Lexington. And they come up almost on the same route, off and on, of MM today, Valley City, and then up here. And then when he came down the hill there northeast of my house, Haston Jones was living here. And they was coming down that hill, and a big loose rock went through the woven wire fence, tore it in two. Well, old man Jones seen it, and he took all four boys with him, and he said, "You're gonna pay for it." Well, that's all right, I'm ready right now. And they started beating one another around. He piled them all up in the middle of the road. Old man Jones, he got up, staggered around, and Hill said, "Well, Mr. Jones, is it paid for?" "Yep, it's paid for. Let's go to the house, boys." So he left. But he graded the road plumb to Lexington. That is his job.
And the road, you're saying it's M, and it came on through Valley City, and then where did it come through here at? Is it the...
Well, it come out of Valley City west. Now, Valley City, MM didn't go north from Valley City. You had to go up to the church west of Valley City to get into Valley City. If you was east of it, you went a little west and then went back. They put MM in. And then it followed cross Blackwater. On the north side of the bridge at Blackwater on the E today is a bridge like the one that was on 13 up here on 13. And then it went right straight west. Then it made a bend when it got to the next road up here and went north about a quarter of a mile. Crossed over what he is. You can see the abutment of the bridge in Blackjack Creek there today, where the old bridge was, where you crossed Blackjack. When it got to where the levee is there on Hunt Oak today, it turned and went west. Well, when it got to 23, is back where he was made new from the bridge to 23. 23 is back on the old road. Well, the old road come west to just east of the missile base, at the fence line east of the missile base, well, little over a quarter of a mile to it. It went north a quarter of a mile. Then it turned and went west. And it went right through where Bill Marshall lives today, between the house and the barn, and past East Lynn School. And when it got to the road, the boys had got there north of fire station, whatever that number is, it went north. Well, the road didn't go south, it went on west, then went south. But that wasn't the highway. See, that's the whole new road plumb over there to where John Sargent's dad lived. But the road turned and went north. When it got over there east of John Merle's house, then it went west and followed it to a road down here south of Gold's place, Mount Olive. Come north to the corner around here east of me, then into here. Then followed 13 to Lexington.
Huh. Well, I guess I need to, that pretty much takes me up to there, so I guess the next thing I need to ask you about is the tornado, whatever she was talking about.
Well, I don't know which tornado she's talking about.
How many were there?
We had a tornado. You got a ring?
Go ahead.
We had a tornado. We had a tornado in '54. There, Gene, turn him off a minute.
We were on a tornado.
Well, tornado, I don't know what she really wants, but I'll tell you the one that happened in 54, J.C. Hamleys. It started over here on the Davis place, between Little John and the Davis place. J.C. had hogs over there. He put in a wooden panel down on the ditch to keep the hogs from getting on Little John a few days before. Well, when the tornado was over, the panel was laying east of his house and his pasture. It carried it plumb across there. But it come east from the Davis place, and when it got up to where the grain bins is today, there was one big shed there, corn crib, and a shed on it, had the grain separator in it, and it blew it away, stuck a post through the separator. They had to rework it so they could thrash, and when it got to County Road there, it was on the north side of their driveway to the grain bins today. It crossed the road and went over on Maggie Stone and went southeast across the field. Well, it went about half a quarter south, didn't go much east. And it barn over there, Frank Wilbert owned the place, and he had a mule barn there. Well, the mule barn was gone when it was done. He had the field west of Maggie's house in barley, and it sucked the seed out of the barley head. It was about ready to cut, and thrashed it. Looked like it's all right, it's standing up, but it just sucked the seed out of the stems, and it lifted the house up, the roof off the house at Maggie's, and just shut her back down on there. Now Frank Wilburn was trying to get to the basement, but it was done gone before he crippled up, before he ever got to the basement. It crossed the road. Well, in fact, before it crossed the road, there was a house on the west of his house, an old house, that had been never took down, standing there. It took it plumb away. Then when it crossed the road in front of Maggie's house, it got on the north side and got Frank Wilburn's mother's house, which it had a basement under it, and then it got down north of his house. He had a mule barn there. It pretty well tore it up and headed off down northeast and crossed the ditch down where there was a grist wheel when Freedom was there. They ground corn for people.
When who was there?
A grist wheel.
No.
Water run it. Water run there spring all the time, enough to grind corn.
But what was the name of the company?
Well, I don't know what the company was, but the wheel was called the grist wheel.
Oh.
It ground corn. And it crossed that, where the two ditches come down there. It forked down there, and there's a big barn there loaded with hay. But I just took it all off and left most of the hay there. So the next morning, Benny and I helped. We hauled the hay up to Will Hanley's and put it in the barn up there. And then it swung back toward John Ed's house. There was a barn just on the north side of the driveway in John Ed's house. It tore it completely down. There was a new shed north of it made out of cinder blocks where he had a bunch of sows running, 28 of them I think it was. It rolled them around in the water, in the storm. They were supposed to pig in 2 weeks, and they didn't have a pig. The sows lost their pigs. So it evidently wallowed them around. We don't know what happened. But in John Ed's house, where he lived, J.C. lived there, John Ed was still a boy, it just musted up a little bit here and there. Well, Helen was washing dishes, looking out the kitchen sink to the west, and she said, believe there's a tornado coming. Well, they had a guy working for him, Jim Talbert. Jim Talbert jumped up and said, boy, that's a tornado. Well, J.C., he run out, they just eat supper. John Ed, let's get in the car and outrun it. Well, by the time they seen that, it was up there at the grain bins by then. And Jim, he didn't argue with him. He headed for the culvert down under the grain Quonset there today. And he went into Quonset, and John Ed was ahead of him though. He wasn't going to go, but he beat him in there. Then J.C. and Helen come, and there was something hit Jay and burned his face, burned a big place on the side of his face. And Frank Wilburn had a brush fire burning up there by his house, cleaning up. Didn't know whether that was what burned his face or what the hell it was. Helen went into the culvert. Jay followed her. She lost one of her shoes before she got in there. So then when they come out, well, things were pretty well gone. Well, the tornado lifted, but it went right through Concordia, and it dropped chickens in the main street with no feathers on them. And the only chickens that went through was at Frank Wilburn's when it went through. It took his chicken house, his garage, and everything else. But it didn't bother his car. So then that was about the last of the tornado. It lifted, disappeared. But I don't know whether that's a tornado she wants or not. But we had a tornado back in 1800s where Martin Roach lived, two-story house. And it come from the southwest and hit it and tore it plumb down. Now, they had lard down in the lower floor of the house. They had sugared 100-pound sacks in the upper floors. When it was done, tore down, the lard was still sitting in the house, and it stirred the sugar in the lard. And it had a glass door, picture kind of window, that you could see out, but you couldn't see in. It didn't hurt it a bit. Martin Roach, he wasn't even here yet, but his dad, granddad, built back. And then he got the place from his dad, but they built it in a different location, west from where the old house was. And they put that door in the new house. Well then, a few years back, Martin's house caught a fire. They had a lamp like this, whatever it is, in the closet. Mary's getting rode, and they had the twin. Donnie had twins. She's going to take them to Oak Grove Church Sunday school. Well, she was in a hurry fooling around. She forgot to turn the light off. And the next thing, the dang house was on fire. The clothes was too close to close, and it set it afire. She was still at home. Well, they got part of the things out. But they lost the door. The heat of the house blew the glass out of the door. So then he had to build his new house back as that. Then a few years later, well, no, it wasn't a few years later. At the same time, my grandfather had a place where Eddie Bracken lived, just west of it. Eddie's got part of it today. There was a grain bin on it, and he had wheat in it. And somebody contacted him, well, they checked it out, and it busted the grain bin open, but his cattle hadn't found it. And but he saved his wheat. He hauled his wheat to the elevator then. Well, I never knew exactly where it was, and Grandpa was going to build a house there. And anyway, when Eddie bought it, the east end of the place, southeast corner, there was a road going west there by it, close by, which road I'm on now, 950. And he found foundation rock there on what he bought, working there. So I don't know whether that's where must have been where it was. And Granddad sold the place back to John Roach in 1908, and about 1913 or 14, he sold it to Howard Adams. And Howard Adams built a 3-room house there, and lived in it till he lost the place. Well, then a few years later, in about 1910 or 12, somewhere in that area, we had one from the northwest. It hit up here at the bowling place, and it hit what the boys has got over here, and it hit the house up here south of me. It picked it up and turned it about a quarter around on the foundation, set it back, didn't hurt it a bit, picked it up and set it down. So the neighbors, well, when the thing got on, my grandparents and Dad, they went to the cellar. They seen it coming. They didn't wait. They decided it was over, they come out. Telephone rang. It was Whitsitt, down there where Collett lives, the corner. He said we had a tornado, it blew the, I don't know what they called the place, but where Boland's was, and the Fame place are gone. Dad told my dad, you ride up to the Boland place, and I'll go to the Fame place. So Dad got there on his horse, and there was two brothers lived there. One was married with children, and the other was single. They were plowing on the north side of the road. They had 3 mules on walking plows, each one of them. And they come to the barn there, and they come through the gate, and the first brother made it, got his mules in the barn. Well, he run to the house, and the second brother, the gate blowed shut. He had 1 mule on one side and 2 on the other. Well, it was really storming. So he grabbed a wagon wheel. Well, that wagon took off. So he rolled over and grabbed the corner post. And he humped that corner post, he was big and stout. When Dad got there, he couldn't see he had eyes, mouth, or anything else, or ears. He was just full of dirt, standing in the middle of the road, looking toward the house. When Dad got there, there's nobody got out of the house. And when Dad got there, they was coming up through the roof, his brother. His brother come out, he lifted out a kid, he lifted out another, and he stood there and counted, said they're all accounted for. So it didn't kill nobody. But what happened, there wasn't nothing but a stool chair in the room they was in that helped the roof up. And it just settled down. They was all under the roof. They had to crawl out from under the roof. And when the storm come, the boy had a little coaster wagon playing with. So he pulled it up on the well curb, which was right against the house. And it had a pitcher pump in it, a hand pump. The wagon was sitting there undisturbed, and the pump was pulled out of the well. It sucked the pump out of the well, and the water too. Now that's how much the pressure was. Well, it went on southeast, where the boys got over here where Rick lives. That is, Faines lived there. It's a 2-story house. And one of them was married, had a little boy, and the whole family, 2 or 3 families living there. And they sat down on the floor. Little boy, he run upstairs and they couldn't get him. He was just about 2 or 3 years old. Well, he was the only one missing there. The rest of them was sitting there, no, on the floor, there wasn't nothing else left. So they had to hunt for him. They didn't find him till the next day. He was almost 13 highway west of there, where they found his body. But just south of the house where Faines lived in, on the west side, there's a black guy lived there. And they had 1 boy. Him and his wife had 1 boy. He had a pair of horses. And he had a log cellar made. He dug a little hole and then logged it up, put dirt on top of it. And they'd crawled in that cellar, storm cellar. They were all right. They come out. He had a 2x4 through both horses. Killed both of them. Well, then when they got on up here south of me, that house was lifted up and laid it around. The people was in it. They was all sitting in there on the floor. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was disturbed. So then the neighborhood went in and helped them jack it up, turned it around, and got it back on the foundation. And from that, they found papers, some of them that blowed away, at Knob Noster.
Okay. What, were there any tornadoes that would have happened when Rhonda was a little kid that she might be referring to, or?
Well, we had a tornado come through. It wasn't a big one. It took my barn away. It went through Herb Feeney's hog house, where Hutchpath lives today. It just cut right through his shed. It took about half of it, right out the middle of it. And then it didn't hit till it got down west of Concordia. Then it lifted and didn't hit till it got to Marshall. But it started up there west of Pittsville. Now it got up here west of Fayetteville, it tore a hay shed down for Lee Shack. And then just a year to the day, Leroy Jones was helping Herb Feeney plant corn north of the house. And another one come through from the southeast going northwest and tore his shed in two again. But it never got nothing else. But then in early 40s, I don't know what the year it really was, but it's early 40s, maybe 41, 40 or 40. No, I was living over here. It's 40, been at least 42 anyway, or for 42 or 3. We had a mother, we was bringing a young filly, Dad and I was. We went around the square to his house, went north around the Bowman School and back around by here. We was out there unhitching her and Mom get corn to feed her chickens. Corn. Oh, look at that funny cloud. Mom, that ain't funny. That's 3 tornadoes. And yes, that was tornadoes, Dad said. And you run, it looked like it's coming this way, one of them. You run up there and get Grandma in the cellar. So I run like hell up there, hair standing straight. I hadn't more than got started up there, I could hear it whining. And it whined, and I got up there. Well, she's down the Bruder house, north of the house where Benny lives. Time I got her to the cellar, it had done lifted. But I was trying to get her, it was still going, I could hear it. And it come right up a creek bottom from south of Earnestville. And it went through a pond, sucked it plumb dry. And it got where Coy's house is down there north of Leroy's. There was a barn down the low ground. It got right to it and lifted. It didn't tear it down. Well, Charlie Bratton was living there. He built that house new. He had lived in Concordia. Well, in fact, he was living in Concordia when the tornado come. So the next morning, he come out with a tiling spade and started digging a cellar. So he dug a cellar and built a cellar. Jones uses it yet today. So Russell Marsh had a sawmill right in the northeast west of his place on the hill. And he was sawing lumber. He had a guy by the name of Elmer Cripes come down the boot hill. And Cripes spied the thing and said, "There's a tornado." Well, Russell said, "I had always wanted to see a tornado." And he jumped on the slab pile. Well, Cripes, he culvert down there at Straley's and crawled in the culvert. And Russell was up on the slab pile watching the tornado. He wasn't a quarter from it, but he wanted to see it. So that's about what I know about tornadoes.
Okay. You were talking the other night when Rhonda was here about you always had phone. Since you were old enough to remember, there was always phone service of some kind around here.
Had what?
Phone.
Phone?
Yeah.
Telephone?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up with no phone. My grandparents, well, we did have a phone. We had a Robbins phone. But it was hung treetop to treetop, and they was shorted out and this and that. It was a ground circuit. And my granddad had the same thing. And granddad had a metallic system, Bell telephone. Well, they finally just give up on the Robbins phone. And so we didn't have no phone. And well, everybody around here had a Robbins phone, but most of them pooped out. They couldn't keep a line up. Now, there was a few that had the Bell telephone, which was Roy Jones here across the road. He had the Bell telephone. But it was a ground system he had, a Warrensburg. But Wes Collett had one, but he couldn't pay the telephone bills, so it was done away with. And when we moved here, only phone we had, we'd go across the road and use Roy Jones's phone. If somebody wanted us to call them and then they just go tell them back or something. So then in 6:47, Benny had got home from service and he messed around, he wanted a phone. So we finally got a phone at Dad's and over here. And a few more around through the country. Collett's got one too at the same time. And so that's what I've had, telephones.
Hal, I guess I want to get some kind of history on newspapers in Warrensburg area. I mean, what was the first name of the first newspaper you remember?
Well, the first one I remember is Star Journal.
And you know
What?
when it was started?
Huh?
You know when it was
I
started?
don't know when it was started or nothing else, but that is a Democrat paper. Then we had a Republican paper, the Standard Herald, and they competition one another over the years. And I don't know if the Standard Herald's still running or not, I don't know. But my folks, of course, had the Star Journal, that's the last I remember. And the delivering of the mail, well, they come out of Warrensburg to Fayetteville. They carried a horse and buggy, and they dropped off mail there, which went northwest of Fayetteville and west of 13. The mailman come on down around by where we live and went back to 13, and only into Warrensburg. But he went back route over toward Fayetteville to go in with the horse and buggy. But that's what they carried for a long time. Then later, they finally made a route that they carried it, all of it, as a star route they called it. But before my time though, mail routes had come out of here to Fayetteville. They left mail. They went to Hoffman's store, which up where Darrell Marsh lives, and left mail there. Then come on around by my grandparents. Now, the old man that carried mail when my granddad moved over there in 1902, it was always noontime time he got there. And he always eat dinner at my grandparents. She always had a plate set for him. They'd eat time he got there. And he unhitched his horse and let him eat oats. Put him in the barn and let him eat oats. And he'd hitch up and go on back to town. He followed this old road here, 13, on back to town.